Hey, everybody, it's Will, and I am very excited today to have Tom Siciliano on the phone. He is actually one of Schedulefly's oldest customers. We were just talking. He's been using Schedulefly for just a couple weeks short of 10 years now. And but more importantly, Tom, right out of high school, had the idea of starting a pizzeria in his town of Ravenna, Ohio, and started in 1983. So here we are 35 years later, and Tom is still running a successful business there. So, Tom, thank you very, very much, first of all, for taking the time to talk today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Okay, man. So let's get into it. Because I am curious. I mean, I've been to your website. I've read some stuff about you. So you had this idea not long after high school. So tell me that story. What gave you the idea to start a pizzeria, and then at that young age, how did you pull off getting one started?
Well, I was working at different jobs, but I worked for a while with my dad in a machine shop, and I had two older brothers that worked there. And of course, me being the younger brother, I was the dumb one that never knew what was going on, and that's kind of my joke, but there's probably some truth to that. But I wanted to do something I could say would be my own. I want to be, my business. I wanted something that I can run that I, of course, I call it, use my last name, and it's something that I'm very proud of. And I tried to make sure this is something that I was able to do. And my feeling was back then I was single, still living at home with mom and dad. Thought, if I don't make it, worst case scenario, I'm still living at home. So it's not like I had to make a lot of money to pay the bills in the beginning. So it's very important to me that I was able to do a good job with it. But in the same token, I was 23. I was young. If I didn't make it, it's the worst things could happen, to be honest. And actually,
yeah,
it took
absolutely.
Probably 6 or 8 months to kind of experiment, to learn how I wanted to make my pizzas. And many funny things along the way, but the one thing, the first pizza we made, we were experimenting, making dough and doing things, and I finally bought a mixer, and I think I spent $300 for my first mixer, which back in '83 to me was a lot of money. So I didn't have a lot of money. And I remember the first time we made enough dough with a mixer that we actually had to make more than just a small pizza. I didn't know how many pieces to cut it in, so it was really. When I say I was a rookie, I was really a rookie. The first, we had 3 different sized pizzas, and all we sold in the beginning was pizza and pop. That was it. That was all we had on the entire menu. But I was very fortunate that as we progressed, I had to figure it. I rented a building, and the funny thing is, in the back of this building, I rented this building right on Main Street, but it was like a 2-unit building. The front of the building, they actually sold tombstones. In the back of the building, I ran out and said, I'm going to sell pizzas, I guess. And I used to tell people when they'd come in, if the pizza kills you, we give you a deal on a tombstone next door.
That's hilarious, man. Well, so when you say, you were, playing around and experiment with ingredients and figure out how to make the dough and all that, were you doing this at home? Were you there before or did you?
No, it was mostly at home. It was like I said, I lived at home with mom and dad, and I still worked with my dad in the machine shop some, but I was thinking that I wanted to do something that I could say was actually my business. Not that I didn't want to work for my dad, because that was fine, but I really wanted something that was different than anyone else did. And at that point, Ravenna only had one other family-run pizza shop, and there was actually, it was even before Pizza Hut or Papa John's or any of those places, but there was only one shop. So I thought, I'm going to try it, and if it goes, okay. If it doesn't, then I've lost some money, but I'll be okay.
Are you still in the same spot where you started?
Actually, no, there's a building across the street. I'll finish my story about the tombstone shop. We were there about 6 months in the back of the building, and then we progressed pretty well. Where, again, part of the reason we progressed well was I had no debt. I had enough money saved that my first mixer was $300. I bought a little prep table to make pizzas. A refrigerated table was $425. It only fit 2 people to make it, but it worked. I bought an oven for $800, which is a deck oven. So, most of the things I bought were things that I had money, so I had no debt other than, I think my rent was, let me think to make sure I don't lie. I think I paid $150 a month for rent, but it was just a little tiny building. It wasn't very big. And like I said, the tombstone shop was in the front, but about 6 months after we opened up, I was running out of room, and he decided to close up, so I took over the whole building. And I remember at the time, this was June of '83 when I started. I remember 6 months later, it was like, I'm going to go from $150 a month. My rent's going to go to $400 a month. Can I afford that? Well, I didn't have a choice. I was growing, and I was very fortunate that I was able to I bought a bigger mixer. I bought a bigger prep table. I was up to 2 ovens, and things were going pretty well. I mean, I was still renting the building, and I was there. This must have been June, had to be close to Christmas time. We moved over to took over the whole building and doubled our size, which was kind of nice. Maybe that was in '83. Another year or so went by, and there's a building across the street where I am currently. Used to be a bank, and it was closed up, and it was closed for a year. Just a small little building, but it was brick, and if you go to the website, you'll see the picture of it. It looks like a bank because it was. And I built onto that and moved over there. We moved over here in May of '85, and I've been here ever since. I've built onto the place like 3 times since then. You can't see from the picture, but I built onto the back of it just for kitchen. But we're still just a carry out. We're still selling pizzas. We now our menu is much more extensive now than it used to be because we have pizza, we do chicken, we do strombolis, we do some catering. We do a lot more. We do salads. A lot more than we did in the beginning. But it's going well. I work every day, and I still kind of like it.
Well, gosh, man. I mean, you can tell that you do, and I can hear the passion and the enthusiasm in your voice. And I mean, I just, look, man, I tip my hat. I mean, that's, you've been through lots of different economic cycles, and you've been through, these big delivery organizations like Papa John's and Domino's and so forth, and here you are 35 years later and still doing really well. So,
well, the funny thing you talk about Papa John's is there wasn't even a Papa John's when I started back in '83. They started, I think, in '84, '85. And now, of course, there's one of those in our town. There's also a Domino's. There's a Little Caesars. There's even a Pizza Hut now. But the funny thing is, and I'm not sure it's funny, but the ironic thing is, when I started out, I didn't deliver. And back in those days, that wasn't a big deal until Domino's started being, the player when it comes to delivery. To this day, we still don't deliver. It is strictly a 100% carry out where people come in and pick it up and they take it home and they eat it. It's not even, we don't have a sit down. It's just a carry out.
Well, so let me ask you this then. I mean, I guess I want to get into 2 things. What hasn't changed and what has changed over those 35 years. So what's been consistent about your business that has enabled you to continue to operate and be successful for 3.5 decades? What have you done consistently well, without changing?
Well, a couple things I think, and this sounds really dumb, I think I was really, really, really lucky when I started, because I started at the right time, but I also made sure that I still, to this day, I still like to go up and greet my customers. I know when my customers come in, I know who they are, I know their name, I almost can tell you what they're going to get on their pizza. The sad part is, I've been doing it so many years now, is you've got second-generation people that are coming in, or even some third-generation, but I still remember what they get on their pizzas. And it's not because I'm smart, I just have a really good memory. So I remember people really well. And I make sure that you always, even you guys, I noticed I was reading your website a little bit today before I got on here, where you guys are still small, and I mentioned to you earlier that you guys, you answer the phone. I do that here. I answer the phone. I take the trash out. I wait on customers. I make the pizzas. I still think that's really important, that when they come in, they're going to see, well, now things are different now because now I have gray hair, which I didn't used to. I used to have black hair. And now I have kids, and my one son works here, and you're going to see him or I. But the important thing is, when you come in my store, you're going to see someone you know. It's going to be someone that's here. It's not just someone running the counter. It's a small little counter. One person at a time gets waited on, but everyone gets greeted. And that's one of the rules we have here, is that when the customer comes in the door, you need to find out. First of all, you need to say hi to them, see who it is, and take care of them, because you got to, especially in this day and age, they have to want to come back. Because there's too many choices. You can easily go anywhere and eat, but I want them to come back here. First of all, it has to be good food, but it also has to be, the customer service has to be even better, more than the good food. You have to take care of your customers. You have to really truly appreciate, because if they don't come in, it's a dumb saying I always tell the kids here. I have lots of dumb sayings. One of them is, you can't make the phone ring, you can't make it stop. Okay, but if you don't take care of those customers, it's kind of like a test. It's not like you can't just get a passing. You got to, every one is a test. You got to make sure every pizza that goes out here, it has to be good. They can't be, it's okay. It's got to be good every time. I also, when the customer comes in, I open the box up and I look at the pizza first to make sure that, first, 2 reasons. I want to make sure it's the right pizza. I want to make sure it looks good, like it's supposed to. If it comes out and maybe, and now we have when we started, we had deck ovens where you had to really watch the ovens. Now we have conveyors that comes through on a conveyor, so it's a little more consistent. But if that pizza is, maybe they don't want it too done, or they want it more done, or if it's not exactly what they want, you have two choices. Either you either tell them, I'm either going to make it over for you, or I'm going to cut your price back, whatever is going to make you happy. And that's really important to me.
Well, here's the $1 million question I always find with this kind of stuff, Tom, is your love for what you do, your passion, the way you look at it, like you just explained, makes a ton of sense to me from the sense of you started this business, you've run it for 35 years, it is a huge part of your life. It is your, it's something you've, it's your baby. So that makes sense. Your son's there. I'm sure it makes sense with him too. How do you find people to work for you that are just employees that will take that same kind of approach to caring about the experience that your customers have?
Well, it's funny you said that, because I was looking today before I talked to you, and I wanted to know how long we've actually been using ScheduleFly. And I looked at the schedule from April 13th was the first week of 2008 when we first did. I started looking at those names on that schedule, okay? And there was 21 names on that schedule. And the ironic part is, of course, my son and my daughter are on there. And she moved away. She's not here more. One son is still here. The other son works here sometimes, not always. My wife's still here, and my mother-in-law. But the ironic part is there's a couple, 3 or 4 of those names on there that are still working here. And the funniest one up towards the top, one of the girls, now her daughter works here. So, I mean, the biggest thing I do when I hire employees, I always, not 100%, but 99% of the time, I either know of the person, know their mom, know their dad, an aunt, uncle. I don't just hire someone that comes in. I don't take applications. I always think of, it's not like they work for me. We work together, and we have to work together, and they have to have the same ideas I do, or it just doesn't work. I mean, they have to have, and you said passion. I guess that's a good word, but it's like I said about it being a test. You can't just kind of the pizza has to be right every time. It has to be not exactly the same, because there's some human error. But you have to make sure that what you're doing is the right thing. So as far as hiring people and getting the right people working here, you have to know people. You have to really, and as you can tell, I talk a lot, and I didn't used to, but you have to talk to people and know what they're about and make sure their passion is the same as mine. It has to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you clearly know what you're looking for, and you've done a good job of finding those folks and keeping those folks there. Let me ask you this. So there's things that haven't changed, and consistent principles that you kind of founded the business upon, and you still instill those principles in your team today. What has changed? Have the customer needs changed? Have the has there other things about running a restaurant that have changed significantly since you started?
A couple of things that jump out at me. One thing is the changes, because I've done so many years now. The second, third generation people. We have customers. There's different people who have come in over the years that they'll come in on a Friday night at a certain time, get the same pizza every week. Well, unfortunately, some of those people are passing away, and that's really sad. And that's inevitable. I understand that. But the other problem, the biggest problem I have now running my business is the employees. It's harder now to get employees that actually, and you probably hear this anywhere you talk to in America, that actually not just the passion, but we have an issue now with kids telling time. I mean, you or I growing up, I don't know how old you are, but me, I am now 58 years old. You can tell time. You can tell it's 20 minutes from 4:20. All of a sudden now you're talking 4:40, or 25 minutes is 4:45. We know that. Kids now, I have a couple of kids now. They actually use. It drives me nuts. We use a calculator to tell time. They can't add in their head anymore. Do those things that we
really.
Is older, yeah. So you're like I am. I was like, one of the girls said, "Let me show you how to use a calculator to tell time." I said, "I think I'd lose brain cells for you to try to show me that. I don't think I can do that." But those things that the kids don't know now because things are different now than they were. You have to know things that we take for granted. 15 minutes, or whatever, 25 minutes or half hour. The kids these days don't know that. So getting help that knows what they're doing. And the other problem, I'm sorry, I talk fast, I talk a lot, is the social media part of kids on their phones. I've actually had to ban cell phones from the shop. There's a cabinet in the hallway, and their phones go on the cabinet because all they want to do is text their friends and take pictures and giggle. And I get that. I like to fool around too. I giggle sometimes. But I, when there's work to be done, I have a customer. That's the most important thing in the world to me, is taking care of the customers.
Yeah.
So things have changed as far as the help. But again, going back to the schedule fly thing, though, what's made my life easier is it used to be I'd have to, people would call in for their schedules. Now the way kids are with their schedules, it gets text to them. That's the greatest thing for me ever, because you can just push some buttons on my computer, they get their schedule, and they know when to come to work. So that thing.
Well, yeah, it's like it's funny. I'm actually the same way. I mean, we have a business that that is a software, and it uses technology, and it benefits us that everybody has these phones that have all the information at their fingertips now. Having said that, I can't stand when I go in a restaurant and the people that work there are on their phones.
My wife and I, we go out to eat, and I always like to, if we go someplace, a steakhouse or something, I always like to see interaction with the waiters, waitresses, and the people that work there. And it's amazing that they all, you watch them walk away, and everyone has a phone in their pocket. Mm-hmm. And I did have an issue with that here at the shop maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where kids would be working in the store, and before I banned the cell phones, they would actually text each other instead of working. It's like, this is crazy. And don't get me wrong, I use that too, because I like to be able to text someone if I need to. But when I'm working, it's crazy. I have people that will actually text me while I'm at work. Well, my cell phone right now, like always, is sitting on my desk because I'm on my work phone. And kind of funny, when you asked me how to contact me, I said, call me here. Because in all honesty, when I'm at work, I don't live on my cell phone like a lot of people do, and it's okay. But I have a phone that's got a cord on it that the old people do. You talk on the phone, and that's what I do mostly. But this technology is really good and really bad. It depends how you look at it.
Well, it definitely has its pros and cons. That's for sure. That is absolutely.
I don't think we can do without it. I'm sorry to jump back in there. I think you have to go for it. But in some ways, as far as kids telling time or not to be able to use their phones for everything, that's not a good thing either.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, it's good that they have access to this stuff, but you're right. I mean, when they're there, you need them. And I can tell you that I talk to a lot of restaurant owners, and that's just an issue everywhere. There's so many people that are putting in policies now about, like you said, like it's got to go in a drawer, or it's got to be put, it's got to be put away, or it is a very big dilemma for so many folks now trying to, find that right balance for their staff and these kids. I mean, look, I've got 3 young kids. They are growing up on this stuff, and it is I didn't grow up on it. I mean, you asked, I'm 43, so I'm a little bit younger than you, but I certainly didn't grow up on this kind of thing. So my kids are, it's a part of their life. So it's interesting to see how, so much time and energy revolves around whether, hey, can I use my device now, my iPad or my phone or whatever, or cannot? And it's good that, I love being able to, my daughter's a teenager. I love being able to reach her. I love her being able to reach me if she needs to. I think that's fantastic. So there's so many good things, but Darren, I can tell you the first place wherever she gets her first job, that's the first thing I tell her is, you put your phone away the minute you walk in the door.
Well, and not only that, I mean, I had one of the girls here that said she told me her mom wants her to have her cell phone on her, so if she needs to call her. I said, that's really a dumb thing. She said, what are you talking about? I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She said, why do you say that? I said, we have a phone here that rings a lot, hopefully, okay? She can always contact you we actually have a business line. I make a joke. You don't have to have your cell phone on you. It's not like she can't contact you. Call the shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that part is probably the biggest challenge for me now, is trying to get the kids to understand that. The other problem is we don't have now. I think I work as much now as I used to, but the problem is, which isn't a bad thing. The problem is now I used to have, like, my wife would be here when we were younger, when the kids were growing up, and now that we both aged a little bit, we don't work so much. And having people that are, like you talk about, 40, 50 years old. I have a couple that are in their 30s that still work here, but the problem is, now I have people that are calling me, wanting me to hire their kid, which is okay in a sense, but I'd rather that child, I guarantee that person that's calling me, their mom or dad never called a place for them, because back then the responsibility was different than it is now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me ask you this. Who doesn't love pizza? I love pizza. And I'm curious, I guess, specific, and I know you've added to your line since you started, but getting down to pizza, what's changed about what you serve over these years? Have you have you changed? I mean, I'm sure you have different pizzas that you offer at different times and things like that, but have the ingredients changed, or is it really still the same same general recipe that you started with?
No, it's actually the same recipe. The other thing I do is the places I buy from, there's a place in Cleveland called Galucci's. If I call Galucci's, I can talk to Ray Galucci. So the places I buy from are small, kind of like myself, and I use some of the bigger companies too, but most of the places I can call Galucci's and talk to Ray Galucci. I can call De Niro's, I can talk to Billy De Niro. I can call Gerber's and we do chicken now. I can talk to one of the Gerber's, one of the DeFeos. So I think that hasn't changed at all, that I still try to deal with small places like myself, because I'm just a single unit, like not a lot of us left anymore. But I'm not a multi-unit company. I go to this, it's called the International Pizza Expo in Vegas every year. And I enjoy going to that. It's fun. You go to Vegas in March, and in Ohio it's cold, and Vegas is warm, so it's nice to go. And I don't gamble, but it's nice to get away. But the thing that irritates me when I go to these shows is that everyone always asks you, how many stores do you have? Sometimes I lie and say 12 or 13, or it just depends on who but it's not. Am I less important because I have one store or I have 13 stores? I get it why they're asking those questions, but I'm reading on what you talked about with you talking to someone today on your blog. That someone wanting you to they're kind of bullying you into giving a better price. I don't think I'm less important because I only have one store, but in some places, some cases, that's true.
Yeah, well, you're not for us, that's for sure. I mean, that's who we're here to serve. That's exactly right. We do have sometimes that we have I did write that post a few months ago. I was pretty frustrated. I had a larger organization. They were trying to kind of bully us around on giving them a better price. And I just said, that's not what
I read that
here.
this morning before I talked to you, and I was like, I get it. I mean, you and I are on the same page because it's it's the same. It's I have customers come in here, and not that I like any of them any more or less, but like I said earlier, that you got to take care of your customers. Well, if it comes out and the pizza comes to it's $8.25, and we may be right on the edge of running later, you charge them $8 or you charge them $7. I don't have pricing that's exactly, and I know in your case it's you can't do that, but for me, someone's coming in and the pizza comes to $22. Well, they come in, I charge them $20. Does it really matter? Not really. That's the kind of things I think that help my business, that you kind of round things off and you make sure you take care of customers, not because they order a ton of food, whether they come in once or twice. I had a girl the other day came in that never had our food before. She said, I just moved to Ravenna, I never had it before. She goes, everyone tells me that I need to try it. She got a stromboli. It's a $6 stromboli, so it wasn't a biggie. I didn't charge her for it. I said, no, you know what, I got an idea. Why don't you try this, see if you like it? I said, that way you don't have to pay for it.
Well, that's exactly. I love that, man. It's funny, Tom. To be honest with you, it's more impressive in so many ways to have one location that has been successful for 35 years than to have grown to many and scaled it up, because you're there, you're running this place, and I mean you've built an institution in your town. It has a wonderful name recognition. So many stories, so many families that have gone from generation to generation going through that. That's something. I mean, that is, to me, I can see what you're saying. You go to these pizza expos and whatever, but God, man, that is something to hang your hat on, my friend, because that's hard to do. That's very hard to do, and it's hard to do it for 10 years, let alone 35. So
I alluded to earlier about that. There's one other place in town that was a home place like me, and it's a place called Guido's, and they're nice people. Guido was the guy's first name, Cipriano, and years ago when I first started, and I knew who he was because they did catering, and they were, but again, they're downtown. We're kind of out, maybe a mile and a half out of town. We're not really downtown. We're kind of outside the downtown area, and he does a nice job. He's now, Guido has since passed away, and his son Sam runs the place now, and they're nice people. I don't try to compete with them. They're a little different than us. They've got a set down, and they have a different clientele right downtown. The courthouse is right across the street, and they do a great job. But I remember Guido years and years ago. Guido had a shop here in Ravenna. He had 3 or 4 different towns around here. He had kids that had shops, and he told me one time he was here, and we were talking, and I think I had something. I had that little prep table I talked about. I bought originally. I was selling that. And he was going to buy it, and he came out to my mom and dad's house. It was there. He said, right now, he said, I wasn't even married yet. He said, someday, he said, you're going to be old like me, He says, and you're going to have kids. He said, and you're going to think you have all your kids, and you're going to put your kids in a shop in every town, and you make a lot of money. He said, let me give you some advice. He said, if you can make enough money with one store, there's no reason to have a bunch of them. He said, if I had all the money that I lost trying to help my kids start pizza shops, he said, I'd be a rich man today. And he was a great guy, and he's since passed away. And his son Sam runs the original store uptown, and I still see Sam and talk to him. We're friendly competitors. It's not, my dad just recently passed away. They sent flowers for the funeral. I mean, that's very classy.
Yeah,
so I mean, we're competition, but it's that advice he gave me all those years ago. It's like, if I can make my living and make enough money to pay my bills, I don't need to have a bunch of shops.
Absolutely.
Amen. I don't have a desire to do that. I'm comfortable. I'd like to work a little less. I'd actually wish I could sell a few less pizzas. My son and I were talking this morning. I wish I could talk to my customers more. I enjoy that part of it. And sometimes you get busy and you don't get to appreciate your customers like you want to, and when the lobby's full of people and there's people coming and going. I wish I could be a little less busy, but that's unfortunately not an option.
Absolutely. No, I completely understand. Well, anything else you want to chat about?
I'm sorry I rambled. I did some philosophy, and I didn't mean to do that.
You don't ramble, my friend. This is fantastic. I love listening to you. I really do, and it's just inspiring. And we love serving places like yours. I'm totally, completely humbled that our company has been able to serve your business for 10 years now, and it's just an honor to speak to somebody who's had a successful business for as long as you have. I think it's a great thing. Like I said, you've been through recessions, economic booms, all things, all kinds of competition in the pizza industry, and there you 35 years later, you guys are still humming along, man. So it's an inspiring story. It really is. And I know that you just have it's very clear. You have some founding principles that have been important to you from day one, and you're still there all the time, and you just provide that great experience. Customers are looking for something consistent. They're looking for somebody that cares about them, and you guys, those two things you provide, you have done it for a long time. So it's really great to hear your story, man. It really is.
I appreciate it very much. I appreciate you guys have done. I don't know if I told you earlier that early on, when I don't remember how I even started with Schedule Fly, I remember calling one time and someone actually answered the phone, and I think he said it was Tyler. And actually, I don't remember the question I had, but it was impressive to me that I could call someone and actually talk to someone. It was like that to me, that part of America is gone as far as calling a company. You can actually talk to someone that actually owns the company, that lives there like you, the five of you do. And I appreciate you guys have been very good for me, and I appreciate it.
You bet, man. Well, I think we share that philosophy on business very much.
Yes,
so it's fortunate to be able to serve folks that think the same way, and that's why we love what we do. Well, Tom, I will let you go. I cannot thank you enough for the time. We're always around if you need anything, and appreciate the business, appreciate your time, and best of luck for continued success for you and your family and your business.
Yeah, you too. I sure appreciate you giving me the time to talk to me today.
Yes, sir. Take care. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.